It's like in sometimes like Democrats are right, Democrats approach is right, and sometimes Republicans are right. I can build the marketplace in like 24 hours, no problems. Or I can spend like 6 months building the marketplace. The difference will be in quality, in which way your system can scale. That's a question you can ask your developer or CTO. Yo, that's Yo. I'm working on the technical side of startups for 5 years. On my journey, I went from agency employee to founder. And in this podcast, I'm sharing hacks that non-technical founder has to know if they want to build a tech startup. In this episode, we are talking about how to work with agencies in case you decided to, and how to build a startup team that scales. So let's get started. So let's imagine you've got a really sweet deal from some agency who've been working on a product that is very similar to yours, and you really believe that they can build it. And let's assume that you are on MVP stage. So you want to build this product from scratch, and you know that these people kind of can build it. And that would be pretty reasonable to work with agency in this case, because if they're saying that they can build it quick in like months, they can make you a predictable estimate on how much you would need to spend. And most probably, if they've been working on this project, they will do real well. But still, you have to be aware of things that agency may use with you to get you into the long-term game with them. And actually, the only thing to prevent it is to just have someone to consult you over working with them. Someone who is not related in any way to agency, someone who have no vested interest. So the very popular solution for that is a technical co-founder. Well, but if you don't have one, like what would you do? There is a position called fractional CTO that is getting to be pretty popular last years. And that's a person who already have been CTO and now for some reason he's open for some part-time opportunities, or he sold his company and now he don't want to join one specific, but he's working part-time on different companies by advising them and leading their development. So that's kind of like a fractional CTO. He's not coding itself, but he have a lot of advices to share with the team, and usually he works like 5-10 hours per week on pretty high hourly basis. But his a couple of hours of time per week will save a lot of your money, especially if you're working with agencies, because this person will be able to tell you if estimates are correct, if technology choosing are good, if team is good enough, if product quality is good. You are interested in creating D-bots around your product. You are interested in having one side and another. You are interested in building this kind of a democracy. Like even if we check like US government, there's always like two sides, Republicans and Democrats. And the thing is that it's not like, world is two-sided. It's not like some of them is like right. It's like in sometimes like Democrats are right, Democrats approach is right. In sometime Republicans are right. It's just a matter of like a question. And you want to have this like a debot system built on your startup. You want to have a two sides that are constantly in a debate between each other. This person will also help you to define the requirements for the agency, and that's kind of most important thing you have to pay attention to. Because let's imagine you want to build a marketplace, and again, I can build a marketplace in like 24 hours, no problems, or I can spend like 6 months building a marketplace. The difference will be in quality of this marketplace, the speed of queries, the smoothness of UI, the user friendliness of UI, and general feeling of app. The more time you spend on it, the better it will be. And usually when you work with agencies, you have some project-based thing with them, and you not necessarily like can predict all the requirements that you like want. That seems obvious. And that's what a technical person can do. So before signing any contracts with agencies, you have to create this list of things that has to be in the app, not in terms of just features, but in terms of requirements, technologies, use cases, speed requirements, quality requirements, etc., etc. Let's assume you already agreed on requirements and you want to start working. I've seen, so basically you'll have a choice of how much control you want to have over the execution. And my suggestion here is to stay in the middle. Like, you can get total control by, trying to decide what team will work every day. You can give total control to them by saying, okay, you have months to build it. In 1 month, I will see. Both are okay, but in second one, you will miss a lot of learning opportunities that I get in the middle of development. And that's kind of part of path. You'll figure out that some feature, like some useless feature, takes most of the time. So you want to not do this feature, and you want to hear it in the middle of development, probably. You don't want your engineer to waste time on something that people will not use. So I really suggest to visit daily meetings with the team, if it's possible, with time zone and with language they speak. So that's why you kind of wanted to hire people who speak English, at least on B1 level, so they can understand you and you will understand them. So you definitely want to join their daily meetings. You definitely don't want to push their estimates. You don't want to say why something that you planned for 1 month is not done in the first week, because by the way, it's a very common mistake I've seen. It's like if you plan some feature for months, you would expect these fraction of features be done in first week or something, but it's not usually how it works, especially in agencies, because they spend a lot of time on initial architecture, and that's kind of where I have a bit of I have to give an honor on that on agencies. So they do really doing good job on that. They're trying to establish some, like most of agencies, some more scalable architecture. So initially it will take them a couple of weeks to just set everything up. And that's okay. Just make sure they're not following waterfall and they will not try to release everything in one, sprint. You definitely want to use agile, but at the same time, don't be pushy over over deadlines, because that will have a direct impact on the quality of delivered features. Usually working with agencies is pretty expensive because they charge a big fees over the salaries that they're paying to developers. So usually it's around 50% if it's real agencies that is doing project-based delivery and everything. It can be even more than 50%. So you're going to cash out a lot of money for this basic MVP. And you not necessarily need all these talents and all this power to continue to support your application. And you definitely need someone who will be dedicated just to you. So at this moment, when they built an MVP, what would you do? Would you continue working with them, or would you hire someone new? So just to step back, even if you initially want to hire someone else to continue working on this application, you have to let agency know about that. And you have to let them know that you need to be very careful with code documentation and a code structure, so that person who comes will be able to understand it. Ideally, you want to stick to one language on backend and frontend. Ideally, you want to stick to most popular language, that is JavaScript or maybe Python. It will depend on your use case, actually. And you want to ask them to write really, really good documentation when they finish everything up. What really would make sense to do in order to create this smooth transition from complete agency development to in-house team, you would want to add some in-house person somewhere in the middle of development, ideally from the beginning, but in the middle is okay, so that there will be a moment when this new person and agencies, they are all working together and they can share knowledge. But then when agency is leaving, you have a challenge to build your own in-house team that will scale. Because let's assume you released an MVP. Let's assume that it's not like, blast, not like 1 million users in one day, but it has some traction, and you understand that you have to now just um, change some feature, try to iterate closer to product market fit. For the pre-seed startup, the best team I've been a part of and the best structure I see people could have is 2 members team, 2 seniors who both are full stacks or who both, you know, they are from the same time zones and they have very complementary skills. And ideally, they're in the same office. And that's the only way you can make complementary skills works. So that's important note here. If you want to hire, like a specialist team where there is a front-end developer and back-end developer, the only way you make it work is if they're in the, like, physically located in the one place. You can try to experiment with online. You may get lucky in that, but just statistically, you would not even want to try that. You can start from hiring one full stack, and that's quite good because this one person can like handle everything for the first time. He can change a couple of features on backend and front end and mobile, whatever you want. And then you can how would you bring another one? And I would give a preference to a person that your first employee or co-founder will suggest. Because you want to hire, ideally it should be person in person, employee. If it's not in person employee, hire a person that your current employee is suggesting. And then they will be friends and then they will be long time working together. And these 2 seniors, this combination of 2 really senior person who control each other, it's very powerful. And that's people who will be able to build you $1 million product without much effort and for cheap. At one moment, you would need to decide which features will these people build. And that's where scalability of your team comes. Because you have to plan ahead. You have this product, you have this architecture behind of it, and you have to make sure that when you bring more people, when you raise seed, it will not fuck up the team. Because developers by themselves are not usually knowing this information unless it's really experienced CTO you're working with. So you may need to control it yourself. And that's in which way your system can scale. That's a question you can ask your developer or CTO. And scale specifically horizontally. So what I mean by that? Let's imagine a feature, a word feature in your app, and we can put it into 2 categories. It's a horizontal feature and it's vertical feature. Vertical feature may be a new systems that we are building in the app. So for example, your app don't have any payments, you want to add payments, you need payments feature. That's a horizontal feature. Because that's something new. It's some new system you're bringing in an app. And then once you added it, you can scale it horizontally. You can start selling subscription to your app. You can start selling some additional products. You can start paying your customers. So that's things that you can scale horizontally with your existing system. There is no much engineering or planning, architecting involved in these horizontal kind of tasks. And you have to understand this complexity yourself. Imagine if a system is empty and you add in a payment there. It's you want to build a good infrastructure for that. That's something your senior has to do. That's something he have to spend a lot of time so that it's easier to scale horizontally. Because the amount of time you spend on vertical features will impact amount of time spent on horizontal features that are based on these vertical features. So if you spend 1 week on doing payments, supporting these payments and scaling it horizontally will take 1 day. But if you do payments in 2 days, then you would need to spend, 1.5 day each time you want to add a new payment. So you don't want to save on it. You want the most senior person to work on the vertical features. Another example of vertical feature may be a search. It may be some storage. It may be some new algorithm. It may be an achievements system. It may be some reward program. It may be like basic user management. It may be an admin panel. Anything that is new. Then horizontal feature is just like, add new payment methods, maybe add new, landing pages. Then let's assume you've added this like reward program. So add new rewards, add new, things that are horizontal and easy to do. So these horizontal things are usually easy to do. And that's where you can use juniors and middles. So that's something that does not require much knowledge. It's hard to fuck it up. And that's where you can start growing your juniors. You can also think of it in terms of like, where would you hire these people? So these two engineers whom you will hire, it's easily can be US. It can be like, it has to be the most high quality people you could ever like find. Don't save on these two. But then when you want to scale something horizontally, let's assume like you built this marketplace, and this marketplace have support for different kind of products. Like it can be physical product, it can be NFTs, everything. So marketplace by itself is built, but now you just want to horizontally scale amount of like different types of products that you can support. In this case, you don't want to hire these expensive employees from your local region like US. You may not even like necessarily hire like, any like other expensive specialists for that. You can go offshore for this one. If you really want to just quickly scale something horizontally, you may not even like hire someone for long term. Just go offshore.